Hey y'all, today I'm with Buck Allen and we're going over 5 things to consider when planting a fall garden. So hey, I know a lot of y'all are used to me putting out hunting, fishing, outside videos, but you know, it's September and a lot of us are thinking about planting a fall garden. I know a lot of us are thinking about planting that fall food plots for the deer, but also planting a fall garden. So I got with my buddy Buck Allen here, and anytime I have a question about planting a garden, I get called Buck and he can tell me anything I need to do. So hey, but do me a favor, if you can, check out Allen Oaks Farm on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. He's got some YouTube videos. But hey, let's get right to it. Top 5 things to consider when planting a fall garden. Hey, so now, Buck, I know one of the top questions I always have in the fall is, when do I need to plant a fall garden? When do I need to start getting the soil ready, and when do I need to start putting my seeds and my plants into the ground? Is there a certain time, a certain temperature, like you want to be, you know, in the 60s at night, not getting above 80, whatever? So what's your opinion on that?
Well, it definitely matters. If it's too hot when you plant some things, they won't do well. If it's too cold, they won't do well. You need to consider the agricultural growing zone that you live in. Where we're at right here along the Gulf Coast, we're in zone 9, but just a few miles north of us, zone 8, where we're a bit more insulated along the coast. Inland, they're not. You may have a 10-degree colder temperature there at night. They get frost maybe 3-4 weeks or a month before we do. So you need to consider that.
Right. So I guess there's probably also certain plants that you're going to plant a little bit earlier and certain plants that you're going to plant a little bit later. Is that it?
Yeah, absolutely. Where we're at in zone 9, you want to go ahead and start planting your lettuce. And I'm looking at our temperatures for next week, where Colorado today is almost 100 degrees.
Right.
They're having snow in a few days up north there in the mountains in Colorado along the Continental Divide. So cold weather, we've got our first big cold front coming. I don't think it's making it to the coast, but I'm looking at next week to start working on my ground, turning my ground over. I think Wednesday, our temps are going to be 64 in the morning. Our highs are in the 80s. After next week, I really don't see any 90s at all.
Yeah. So you're saying as long as it's getting in the 80s during the day, you're not getting too much above the 85, and then what do you want it to be at night? Like,
well, just cool.
Cool, like in the 60s?
Yeah, things like lettuce will really bolt. And man, when we get talking about lettuce gardens, you know, it's a lot more than just lettuce, but those things don't do well in hot weather. Carrots, that's a little iffy, but broccoli and things like that, they just don't do well. They need those cool nights to make them do well.
So probably at least getting down in the 60s at night and not getting too much more about, what, 85 during the day?
They can handle a little bit of the heat, just not consistent heat. Once you start getting that first cold front, it really makes a difference, because then things start to cool down. So I'm looking at the middle to end of September. I start getting things in the ground or getting the ground ready, and I'm just looking at the long range forecast for that.
Okay, well, that's good to know. All right, well, the next thing we're going to talk about is soil. Is there any certain thing that's different about your soil in the wintertime or the summer, spring planting and the fall planting?
Not necessarily, but I have some ideas for you that are really cheap, that work, and will make your food so much better, so much more productive. And it starts with dirt. I compost everything. I don't use any chemicals in my garden whatsoever. And leaves. We're coming up on fall. A lot of the deciduous trees, well, they're all the deciduous. I can't say all, because live oaks drop in the springtime.
Right.
Yeah, but deciduous trees such as oaks, most of them are going to start dropping leaves here within the next month or month and a half. And collect those. I'm notorious for driving through neighborhoods that have like maybe a HOA.
I grew up getting bags of leaves from my mom. So
yeah, so I mean, I'll drive by a neighborhood and see bags of leaves stacked out. I don't go to junky neighborhoods and get those, because you end up with trash and cigarette butts, and I'm not interested in that being in my garden. But typically neighborhoods with HOAs, they've got nice yards, they have good leaves, clean leaves, and I collect them and I'll compost them. And it does a couple of things. It keeps your soil loose, and we can dig in one of these raised beds behind me here in a little bit, show you my dirt, and it's loaded with worms. Yeah. Which is goodness. So deep, loose, rich, organically filled soil is what you're looking for.
Alrighty. All right, now I know there's a big difference between what we're going to plant in the spring and what we're going to plant in the fall, but just go over a few of your top things that you like to plant And are some of them that you need to plant maybe earlier, and are some of them that you want to plant like maybe a few weeks later?
Yeah, absolutely. And now to clarify, there's a lot of plants that you can plant in the springtime and then plant again in the fall.
So what are some of those real quick?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, cucumbers.
Gotcha.
I've got some tomatoes that I just purchased. I'm not growing them from seed because they take so long.
Right.
But man, I seen some really nice plants at our feed store the other day, and I picked them up.
Yeah.
And you're talking, okay, we're the first week of September,
Yeah.
and tomatoes typically take 90 days roughly from seed. I'll have tomatoes in October when my salad garden is starting,
Yeah,
in
there you
November, because we don't even get a frost here until typically December.
Right.
And they'll do well up till that point.
That's something nice to have with your when you're picking fresh lettuce, to have some fresh tomatoes, right?
And cucumbers. Cucumbers is another one. Cucumbers, 45, 60 days, and we'll have cucumbers right up to a frost as well to go with that first half of that winter garden.
Cool. So plant them early, probably early in September, and then what else are you going to start planting later on?
Well, coming up, I'm getting ready to plant my lettuce, and you can get that. It really doesn't matter if you get it from seed or if you go to your feed store, Lowe's, or wherever, and you buy it there. Getting it from seed, you have more options. You're getting things that do well in your area. For instance, garlic. I order my garlic bulbs online, and the last few years I've been planting a Thai garlic that's really spicy, but it does extremely well in our area.
Yeah.
You plant it in the fall at the end of September, and you eat the tops of them like you would a scallion all winter long. Add those to your salad too, because it's got the really garlicky flavor, just like a chive or a scallion.
Yeah.
And then come about the end of May, 1st of June, you harvest the bulbs. And you have them all summer long. You're cooking with that same garlic all summer long.
Right on. So what are some other maybe top 5 things that you plant in the fall?
Broccoli, cauliflower, but those I kind of put those in the same family. Those are heavy nitrogen feeders. So you want to make sure that, like we'll add some chicken manure to that, but we have chickens.
Yeah.
You can add a little bit of ammonium nitrate if you're trying to get that nitrogen level up. You can also plant carrots, and they aren't a high nitrogen feeder. But you plant carrots typically take 90 days, so you can plant, and the seeds are super small. Mix them in some sand, and then plant it to spread them out some, or come behind it and thin them out.
Yeah.
But you'll have carrots all winter long.
Yeah.
You will have carrots all the way up till June, July actually.
Yeah. And also, I guess, I know I've always planted my kale,
Yep.
and spinach, and your salad greens.
That goes right in there with that salad mix. So kale, which is really, Swiss chard is one that gets overlooked a lot in winter gardens. That is so good for you. I mean, it's just loaded with nutrients and things and vitamins that really helps your antioxidants. Arugula is another one that adds a very warm, peppery taste to salads.
Yeah.
It's super easy to grow.
Yeah.
Probably the worst thing about that is you got to keep it cut back because it grows well. And it's an annual; it doesn't take over anything. Then you plant your broccoli, your cauliflower, like I said, and you can harvest broccoli, cut the florets off, and they will actually come back, produce more smaller. And we'll plant that a number of times throughout the winter. Mustards, turnips, and collards. Like, turnips don't do so well for us in our area because we're a little warmer, but
Really?
50 miles north of us, they do extremely well.
Huh. Maybe that's why I haven't had good luck with my turnips.
Yeah, they typically will get eaten up by bugs.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no, I've had a lot of that trouble, huh?
But mustard greens, and consider the species of mustard greens, because now there's just so many different varieties.
Yeah.
For our salads, we use this Chinese mustard that tastes like wasabi.
Wow.
It's a little bit spicy,
Chinese
but
mustard.
man, it doesn't take much of it in a salad, and gives a salad just a completely different taste.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's great, super easy to grow. And then collard greens.
Right.
And collard greens are so good, and they're good for you. And then the baby collards, you can actually use those leaves in your salads as well.
Yeah, especially in these fresh little sprouts. Yeah.
Mhm. One thing that I have, and this is in my garden all year round, is garlic chives and onion chives. It doesn't get too cold here for them, doesn't get too hot for them. We eat those all year round, and they're fantastic. You could buy bought one little pot at Lowe's a couple years ago, and I just separated it, and now it's spreading. I'm dehydrating it. It's really good.
Cool deal. Well, good ideas for things to plant in the fall. All right, next thing that we're going to talk about is where to plant.
Sun, morning sun, afternoon sun, full day sun. You just want to make sure that you have some sun. And you got to consider that the aspect of the sun starting to move south, days are getting shorter. All the winter vegetables that we grow need at least 6 to 8 hours of sun to do well.
Yeah, so at least that's something to really consider. The sun's going down. You might not be getting the exact same sun now as you will be later on in the fall, especially come January.
Oh, it completely changes. It completely changes. So whenever you're considering putting in something like raised beds, what we have here, we get full sun all year round.
Yeah. All right, where to plant? Something to think about. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about today is how to plant. Is there some things to consider when you think about how to plant a fall?
Certainly, and this, you'd be surprised at how many people fail at gardening because they try to start tomatoes from seeds.
Right?
There's certain things that's just easier to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or your local feed store, co-op,
Your local
and get
feed
those
store.
things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I say Lowe's and Home Depot because everybody has those.
Right.
But small business, local business, I'm an advocate for.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think I paid for their edition.
So what are some things you want to definitely plant from, buying the containers from the feed store, and some of the things you want to plant, from seed?
Well, tomatoes would be one of those, like I said. Artichokes is another one. Brussels sprouts. I typically get those already started in pots, little 6-packs or the little quart pots. But things that I like to plant from seed, or my carrots, all of my lettuce. Some people do have issues with starting their Swiss chard and stuff from like Swiss chard and arugula from seed. It's easier just to get it, buy a little 6-pack and plant it. It does really well. I find that that's it likes a little more nitrogen some of the other leafy greens, and it gets really large. The benefit of planting from seeds is your varieties that you have to pick. If you're buying from Burpees or Parks or wherever it may be, it's just a broad spectrum of things that you can get.
Little packs of seeds that are all 12 different varieties of lettuce or something like that.
In a single pack.
Yeah, right.
But you can also, like the Chinese mustard, for years you couldn't get that here. And you can get it there. And like I was talking about that Thai garlic, the only place you can get that is online.
Really?
You don't want to go to the grocery store and buy garlic bulbs and plant them, because those aren't typically, or you don't even know the variety, or even the ones from your feed store.
Yeah.
They don't always get the ones that do best in your area. So just understand or know what you're planting, the variety that you're planting, and understand its needs, and set yourself up for success. But like tomatoes, if you're planting tomatoes in springtime, you've got to start those seeds about January 1st.
Right. Yeah.
In order to have tomatoes. So it's just easier to go buy the variety that you like already started.
Yeah. Good deal. Something to think about. Hey y'all, hope you liked the video and it was helpful. Hey, do me a favor and go down and hit the like button and hit subscribe for the next videos that'll be coming out. And remember, it's just better down here, y'all. Hey y'all, do me a favor and go to thesouthernhood.com to check out all my shirts, hats, and other products I've got online for sale. Hey, I appreciate it. And remember, it's just better down here, y'all.